This is Arman Assadi. Welcome to Find Your Flow. What is good, my beautiful people? I hope you are doing fantastic out there, taking care of yourselves, and I'm excited to connect with you today. So thanks for being here. I'm going to be introducing you today to a very good friend of mine who I had the honor of having a great conversation with. His name is Daniel DiPiazza. You may know him on social media, on Instagram. He has been around the block in this world of internet things for quite some time now, I believe about 10 years. And he is best known as being the author and founder of Rich 20-something, a book that actually hit number 11 on the New York Times bestseller list. He has created multiple seven-figure companies. And right now he is building what he calls the Black Beach Body. And I love this man. I love talking to him. It's hard in this world sometimes to find people that you deeply can connect with. And when you do, as you'll see in this conversation, first of all, it's a very fun, very casual conversation. And we're able to go deep on a lot of things and get very real about the world that we live in, first and foremost, but about our journeys. And as you'll see, Daniel is always so authentic and raw and vulnerable about his journey and where he's been at. I mean, everything from things that have happened in his marriage that he's open about, to his use of psychedelics, to the businesses that have failed, the businesses that have won, his perspective on even what it means to be successful. And I love connecting with people like Daniel because it's rare that you get to have this type of genuine friendship with somebody. And, you know, we're both these internet entrepreneurs. We're both into self-development. We're both pretty spiritual beings, I would say. And so to get the opportunity to connect with him and just record a conversation that I then get to publish is awesome. And he makes it so easy because he's done this a million times. The coolest part of this whole thing, too, I will add, is that it was literally, at the time that this was recorded, it was literally my birthday the day before and his birthday the day before that. So his birthday is May 4th. My birthday is May 5th. We're 2 years apart. I'm 2 years older than him. And we were basically like, let's get together and have a little birthday conversation and catch up. So that's where it kicks off, how he celebrated his birthday during the quarantine. And you'll see he did it with a lot of intention, as did I. And from there, we unpack a lot of stuff, like I mentioned, psychedelics, marketing, his new business, and so on and so forth. So without further ado, my podcasters and podcasterettes, is that an official phrase I can use? I think I will. Here is the conversation with Daniel DiPiazza and moi. Enjoy. Bro, how was your birthday?
It was 32 times better than the last time.
Yeah?
It was great.
Good. It's a unique one for us tourist boys.
For sure. And I don't know about you, but this time around, this time of the year for my birthday, for the past 3 years, I've gone to somewhere in nature. So I've gone to the forest somewhere. At 30, I was in Topanga. We rented this huge like ranch up in Topanga, and I had a big event with like 50 to 60 people there. My parents were there, and we had catered food, and that was crazy. That was for my big 30. And then after that, we went to Joshua Tree to like extend the birthday. So it was super cool. And we did a bunch of crazy psychedelics. And then 31, which was last year, what did we do? I was back at J Tree.
Yeah, you went back into the woods, right?
I went back into the woods. I went back into the woods. And then this year I went to Sequoia.
Oh, you did?
I didn't go on my birthday, which was 2 days ago. I went actually about a week and a half ago. So it was my birthday trip. So I went to Sequoia. So I continued the trend of
nice
for birthday.
Good, dude. Yeah.
You?
I was home. It was super special. I mean, a lot of people are freaking out about having a quarantine birthday. I was fine with it. I mean, would I like a hug or 7? Absolutely. I would love a hug. I would love some human contact. I'm super extroverted. I know. But those basic needs are obsolete now. I don't even know if I'll get a hug ever again. So might as well just embrace the change. And it was amazing, man. My wife put together this beautiful video from all my friends, a little compilation,
Yep.
all this. It was so special. And to be honest, for someone like me, let's just say I had gotten together, and I've done a lot of great parties, a lot of great birthdays, you know, everything from really intimate, like 5 to 10 people, to I think one year I had like 75 people. And I loved that too. Like I love all of it.
Yep.
Just the general feeling of connection. But you don't get to really drop in with anybody. You get that brief, you know, hey man, happy birthday. And I'm like, hey, it's so good to like see you, like just get this moment with you. And the moment lasts maybe a couple minutes, and a couple people I'll get to kind of like go a little bit deeper with, have a deeper conversation, but 90% of them get ignored. This allowed an opportunity, even though it wasn't in real time, to like get that full like gratitude of who you are on your birthday with this video, and then for me to be able to respond and be like, have a genuine conversation. So I actually felt like it was more meaningful, even though it was virtual. So I loved it, man. It was great. And then my wife just put a little day together. I worked, I played. It was a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I mean, I think we had a very similar experience. My wife also put together a group Zoom, like a surprise Zoom. There was
Right.
20 people there, and it was just all my bests, and all the people that that I've been coming up with, and or at least most of them, the ones I could get on. And yeah, I think that it's sometimes these things are counterintuitive. Something that you think would separate us brings us together, and then when we have the chance to be together, sometimes we don't want to be. So it's always the contrast, right? And so I think
Mhm.
it was a good birthday for me. I feel great, and the weather is improving here, so it's improving my mood as well.
Oh man, it has
You know,
such a big
it's
impact.
like it's like I
Big
mean, you can see I'm on my patio, and it's just sunny outside, and I have these plants here, and I have
Mhm.
chimes. It's like 82 degrees out here. Smoking a little weed. It's good, man.
I mean, that's perfect.
It's perfect. What else do
That's
you want?
perfect, man.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. Well, okay, so let's actually unpack. Like, there was something I wanted to ask you. I was like, what is the thing I want to kick this off with Daniel and really go? So you're a really reflective guy.
Hmm.
I think we're really similar in that regard. We like to spend a lot of time pondering existence, why we're here, what we're doing.
Wasted all of
You're
our time.
you're
Yes.
yeah, you're a philosopher, man. You're a philosopher. So as a 32-year-old now, and again, I'm super grateful to just be your friend, bro. It's been
Thank you.
awesome, awesome. Thank you, man. Thank you. So, what did you get a chance to reflect this birthday? And if anything, you know, what really has changed? Like what were the big insights this year for you?
That's a good one. I feel like I feel like in the past 6 months, I'm a diamond being pulled out of the muck. I feel like I've been really I feel like I've been reborn the past 6 months.
Mm,
Coming into this year, complete rebirth. I went through a peak in my career, which is not the peak of it, but a peak, just like a mountain range, it's a peak. I went through a peak, and that was followed by uh, uh, what I could consider a severe valley, uh,
mm,
emotionally, relationally, financially, spiritually, all the leads. And then, but after the valley, what happens? You have to climb up to the top again, and now I'm in the process of building back up, and I feel like I have regained my energy, my lust for life, my
mm.
passion. I feel I wake up in the morning, and you can tell how inspired you are for life by how you feel when you wake up most days.
That's a
And
great point.
I went from waking up most days being like, oh my fucking god, to
Mhm,
just like, yeah, like $1 million just walked in the room,
mhm.
to feeling like, I went from cold to hot. And so I'm feeling myself, I'm feeling good. And that was a significant change over the past 6 months. And it's now continuing through my birthday.
What do you think sparked it originally? Like how long ago did you said it's the past 6 months?
Yeah.
So the Valley was before that,
I
about
think,
6 months ago.
yeah, I think for me, so like career peak of my this my the peak of my like my first phase
Hmm.
was releasing my book.
Yeah, because
All
you've
good.
you've transformed your career
Yeah,
multiple times,
yeah,
and it just keeps building and evolving and transforming. And we'll talk
yeah,
about like some of I want to dig into some of what you're doing right now, but
yep,
yeah, I mean, obviously you had this incredible book,
yeah,
and that was like a big part of your identity, right?
yeah. I had a really big book that came out. It it was part of, like, I would say, part of the last of the OG online business stuff. And hold on, let me mute this for you because it's gonna get too crazy. The chemtrails,
No.
man, they're spreading them during the quarantine. We can't escape it. Um,
Oh God.
I would say that my book, which is Rich 20 something, was one of the last wave of like the OG online business books before social media really exploded to the point where now it's crazy. You know, because when I was writing online originally, it was like 2011 and 12 and 13, like when the
Hmm.
internet was still kind of like friendly neighborhood blogs.
Yeah.
There wasn't as much competition and comparison. It was more just individual personalities talking, and there wasn't as much corporate interest in it. Um, so I kind of came up in the original OG blogging days, um,
Right.
part of like the original wave, and I built that into a pretty successful business of like just learning how to do stuff and then teaching it. And
Hmm.
the fact that that was even a thing and is even still a thing is like, it's not something that any of us prepared for in college because it was so current. It's something that was so fresh, and people really liked that. And so built into the social media career where I was, just teaching things and building things, and and eventually, wrote a book around all this stuff.
Yeah.
The book did really well, and I felt like it was a success. It was like I got like a good amount of money for the book, and then it sold really well. We hit number 11 on the New York Times list the year that it came out, which is
Wow.
2017. Yeah.
I know that. That's amazing, man.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. And like like peak personal moment, felt awesome. And then after
Mm.
that, it's kind of like, the thing about that book is it's rich 20 something, and it definitely does create some sort of internal timetable, at least in your head, of how
Sure.
long am I going to do this and what does this mean for me. So after that book came out, I was kind of, just like, I just orgasmed. And so I'm like, okay, well, what's next? Like, do I want to keep going with this? Or, it's kind of like, you lose a little bit of sensitivity. uh,
Totally.
and so I'm like, do I want to keep going with this? And what do I want to do? And, um, I went through a phase where um, I just kind of sat back and rode off of the wave of it all I'd already created. So I was coaching and mentoring, and I was doing some really cool retreats all around the world, and
Mm.
um, and making a lot of great friends, and doing speeches and stuff, and like very very cool stuff. And I was, to be honest with you, like I didn't have a huge plan between like 2017, 18, and 19. Like I didn't have some like roadmap that I'd drawn out, like, okay, I'm gonna do this, and
Right.
then phase two is this, phase three is that. It wasn't a business plan. It was more just like seizing opportunities, trying to do things that were exciting to me. Like I did a creative live,
Hmm.
I flew a team out to Bali. We did I spoke at the U.S. Army base. I headed up a column for LA Weekly where I was doing the whole cannabis column. I started a business with LA Weekly where we partnered with them. We built a media company together. I sold that.
Right.
So all this stuff was happening in that time. And but I wouldn't say it was a plan. It's like what Heath Ledger say. He's like a plan. How do I have a plan? He said I'm just like a dog chasing my tail. I wouldn't know what to do with it if I caught it. It's like so but
Yeah.
like somehow I was making a lot of money doing this stuff. I'd make like now for some people, the super super wealthy internet people, they're like, oh well, this is dropping the
All
bucket.
relative, man.
But for me, like I'm clearing like $500,000, and I'm just like chilling, and like traveling all around the world and doing whatever the fuck I want to do. Like it's an awesome life. Now, that's the positive stuff. Flip side is like there's a lot of anxiety brewing about me not really feeling like I have a direction and still coasting off of what I'd already done, not feeling like I was really creative or innovative, feeling like I was really feeling stale, starting to feel bored. So there's that. And then also just with my relationship, we were going through a lot of bullshit at the time. I put this online. I put online how I cheated on my wife. This is years ago at this point. That came out. I put that out. We dealt with that. We're still dealing with that. But like having to then become a better man, then also through that process, thinking about, well, now do I want to start a family? So all this stuff combined to create this pressure chamber
Yeah.
where it forced me to climb up that mountain to get for the pressure forced me to get out of that valley. And so over the past 6 months, I've charged up from all that, and
Hmm.
I've changed a lot, and I've grown a lot, and I've applied a lot of the stuff that I've learned in these past 10 years to make myself better. I sat down with my notebook and I made a list of 13 things. This is mostly just business stuff. There's personal stuff as well,
Mhm.
but even just in business, 13 things I've learned in the past decade. Really trying to distill the lessons, and it's been working. So
Hmm.
that's why I was able to pull myself out.
When you think about the way that example of like waking up in the morning and the way you feel, which I think I would define as like just a general sense of lust for life, like you
Yep.
said, or fulfillment, even we could call it.
Mhm.
People argue over the word happiness, fulfillment, all that kind of stuff, but it's a general sense of having the joy of being alive.
Yep.
The times when you've had that, would you say that you are externally motivated or internally motivated? And how has that changed for you over the years? Because this is something I think about a lot. And I think that my approach to this has transformed multiple times over the years where so I'll let you kind of answer it and maybe I'll kind of give my version of it too.
Hmm. It's a good question. I think that there's no amount of external motivation that can really move you if you don't have internal motivation. But I think that the more internally motivated you are, the more fun the external stuff becomes. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like for instance, there there's no even money can't really drive you to do something over and over and over again I mean it can, but it feels bad and it's hard. if if,
Mm.
if money is the only factor, if external motivation is the only factor, it makes things very hard. And from my experience, maybe that's not everyone's experience, but from my experience, it makes things very hard to do. However, when I feel like what I'm working on is not primarily about the money, that creates within me a stronger emotional resonance, and that emotional resonance makes it easier for me to try harder. And when I try harder, I make more money.
Mm.
So if it's just for the
Yeah.
money, it's like if you're a mercenary soldier, how hard are you going to try? Well, yeah, you're going to go and try and do your thing. You were hired to kill, but if it's for your country or your cause, you're going to be in
True.
it. You know.
True. True. So then you could say that the primary motivation actually becomes the internal one. It's
Yeah.
intrinsic.
Morale
Yeah.
is huge. When you're talking about leadership, morale is huge. So self leadership, you got to have
Mhm.
that. You have to have that internal reason why, and you got to feel like, you're committed to it.
I was talking about the reason I ask is I basically talked about this in my episode 1, and I did a solo episode and I went really deep into this. And yeah, man, I've had these mountains and valleys and mountains and valleys. And what I have found so far in my experience, um, as a fellow Taurus of a similar age, is that every time I'm attached to either an outcome or an object that is external, I am subject to the consequences and circumstances of my environment that I can't control.
Yeah.
As soon as I realize the truth about who I really am, which is an aware, sentient, conscious being,
Oh
and
boy.
I go a little bit more macro and I realize that I'm flying around through the universe, spinning on a clay rock, and that my life has tremendous meaning to me, but that in the macro level, the things that I may be struggling with, finding challenging or stressful, that are literally removing me from the present moment, removing me from my ability to find joy, I continue to sabotage myself. And what I have found is that the pattern is generally related to something in my perspective or disposition is focused outward on all these things that I can't control.
Yep.
But again, as soon as I shift that back and I find my center and I recall and remember who I really am, there's a piece that exists in that present moment, which I think you and I both, and one of the reasons we get along so well, and like, dude, the moment we like connected, it was fast, right? It was just like fast, deep friendship, really quick.
Yep. Yep.
And I think that's because when you find other people who have exited the matrix and who are also like on this search that is both internal and external, it's almost like you see that friend in the desert and you've been wandering for so long and you look at them from across the
Yes.
desert and you're like, yeah, human and thirsty, and you know where the water is, like, and so you're like, let's talk and let's connect and let's share, because
Yeah.
we're seeking the same thing, and it seems
Yep.
like we're
Yep.
seeking ourselves, right?
Totally agree. Totally agree. Yeah, it's well, it is interesting. I think that like attracts like. That's what my chemistry teacher in high school always told me, Dr. Patel. Like attracts like. So uh, hopefully, the old adage of the you are the five people you attract is true, because if you're here, then I'm doing okay. I can
Likewise,
tell
brother.
how well I'm doing.
Likewise.
Mine's here. So what about you? So internal motivation, external motivation. What do you have any external motivations right now? What materially? What do you want for?
That's a great question. I won't say that I don't want anything. I'm not a monk. Um, I'm not there. And I think that some form of wanting is actually really helpful, because as a secondary motivation, so again, it's like I've been through this up and this down, and through the process of journaling, through the process of getting to know myself, through the process of identifying what are those moments that I'm most at peace, I've found that that external thing became secondary.
Right.
So first I shifted to, this practice of focus on the self with a capital S, and doing that work and making that the foundation. And I used to be so attached, dude, to, like, for example, for 8 years, 9 years now, basically ever since I left my job. And I did, this, like I did I worked at 3M, and then I worked at Google, and I tried to climb the corporate ladder.
Yep.
And play that game. And the moment I left, actually, our paths are very similar in that I wanted to go out and find a way to make money online, which I was one of the OGs too. It was like,
Yep.
let me do something that creates freedom for me. And I was so motivated by the glory that could come with helping others, but the helping others still had this weight attached to it. I had to help others through a very specific outcome, which was write a book, which was hit the New York Times, which was make a certain amount of money, which was, get featured on magazine covers, like just bullshit, man. Bullshit that,
Play the game.
yeah, it feels really good in the moment,
Play the game.
but means absolutely nothing, because again, what I've found is like, even after I get it, I come crashing down. I think you
Yeah.
said you already had the orgasm,
Yeah.
so it's not as good. And I'm afraid of that, dude.
We can go again. We can
Afraid.
always go again, but
Yeah,
it's
right.
I
But
I
chasing the high is dangerous.
I don't know. Yeah, I think that it is dangerous if you don't know that it's like that. Once you have awareness of the fact that it will never satisfy you, then you can make a game out of it. You know.
Mhm.
So it's like I have been through a few cycles of that where I'm like, okay, that didn't really solve the pain point for me, but it's still fun sometimes to gamify things. That's how I'm looking at it, because before, like, I went through a phase where I was deep in the realization that none of this really matters. So I wasn't motivated to do anything, and I prefer to be hyper motivated even about things that don't matter, because my life is just more fun when I'm like that. Whereas if I get too meta, if I do too many fucking ayahuasca journeys, I'm just like, man, nothing fucking matters. Like, I'm just a spirit in a flesh suit. All of this
Mhm.
is just coming to an end. It's all infinite possibilities. Like, I could just meditate all day, and that, I love that. And
Yeah.
I also am trying to build a ranch, and I want to put a large building on it, and I need
Mm.
to buy horses. So I got to be up, you know?
Okay, okay, we're gonna talk about the ranch because we talked about that at dinner with
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Nathan one time.
Nathan,
I want to talk
Nathan,
about
yeah.
the ranch, but dude, I love what you just said because for me, I think we all have a certain disposition or natural state, and so becoming aware of these things and conscious of these things is great. But without playing a game, you kind of become pretty apathetic and bored
Yeah,
in your existence, right?
yeah,
And so, like, I mean, that is really the neuroscience of gamification. You're actually playing a game with your brain because
yes,
that your brain
yes.
functions and responds to certain things, and you're trying to make those chemicals go off,
I know
right?
this isn't real. I know it's not real, but you
What do
know,
you mean?
why not?
Tell me what you mean
Well,
by the term real.
well, how deep do you want to go? I mean, I know that there is more going on here than meets the eye. I know that I have seen things through different practices, not just psychedelics, but also through deep meditation, through a lot of self study. I've had some very eye opening experiences, which I've written about a lot and talked about it at length. And, so I know that, um, just succeeding in your career is such a small, small, small part of being here. It's not even really the important at all, but it's still fun,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I think it's healthy.
healthy. Yeah. Yes, when you do it in a healthy way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, what age do you think I should be when I do ayahuasca? I think
Uh,
it should. I've still yet to do like most psychedelics.
I mean, have you done anything?
To me, I'm so sensitive that I think I was telling you this once. Cannabis is a psychedelic for me.
Well, it is psychedelic. It is
I
for sure.
Yeah, right. And I took the tiniest puff of like a 1-to-1 CBD to THC cannabis the other night, and I flew, man. I can send you what I wrote. I was asking myself if art is the savior and the antidote to death. I mean, I went,
That's a
oh
pretty good
my
question.
yeah, it was. Yeah, I'll send it to you. It was great. I'm not publishing it, or at least I don't think I am. And I just have these like questions that probe from a tiny bit of cannabis. So for me, the entire experience would need to be highly facilitated and probably in a therapeutic setting is the way I would want to
Mhm.
do it. I mean, how badass would that be to have a psychologist sitting down taking notes while you trip
It's
on
interesting.
LSD?
I'm wondering, do you know what your Myers Briggs is?
Yeah, yeah.
What is it?
ESFJ
ESFJ.
and sometimes ENFJ, but that's because Myers Briggs. I mean,
Mine,
that's a whole.
mine changes. Yeah, my Myers Briggs changes,
Yeah.
depending on how feeling I say. I'm just wondering because, yeah, Sarah is very sensitive to like anything. Like, you could put a small drop of cannabis liquid in a large gallon jug, and she would drink a sip out of it and go, she'd get high.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that probably just has something to do with our ability to metabolize it, you know?
Yeah, and you guys are tapped in. Yeah, well, and there's lots of different ways to do psychedelics. Like I've done everything from like the shamanic experience to I haven't done like in a clinical setting,
Mhm.
but they are starting to develop that in Portland, down Oregon. So
Hmm.
they just in Portland approved a bill that allows for medicinal psilocybin treatments
Hmm.
in a
I
therapeutic
know of one
supervised
in
setting.
Amsterdam as well that
Hmm.
they're working. I didn't know we had one in the
So,
States.
and it's the first of its kind.
Hmm.
And so that's actually a pretty good opportunity if you want that modality. And psilocybin
Very
is a
exciting.
great first psychedelic to do. It's very grounding. It
Mhm.
is. They all have varying levels of intensity, but psilocybin is when administered correctly is pretty peaceful. It can be a pretty peaceful ride. It's not too
Mhm.
scary, especially if you have guidance.
Right.
There's difficult parts with all the psychedelic stuff, but it's a pretty good one to start with. So I would
Right.
look into that. Like once the travel
Yeah,
starts
I've
on.
actually I've actually taken a tiny bit of like a mushroom chocolate and
Yeah,
enough to where I get just giggly and
yeah,
I'm not like transported into, infinity. And
yeah,
that's beautiful.
yeah.
I love that.
Just
Uh,
real simple. You know.
yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
But it sounds like after all the experiences you've had with this world, which you've studied so well, you've explored deeply, you've come back a more aware, at least this is my, observation, and tell me if I'm even close. I get the sense that you come back wiser, more aware, you've seen things, but you're actually more grounded at the same time.
Well, I mean, I think there's definitely like a level of like within like the plant medicine psychedelic community. I think there is like a spiritual elitism where it's like I've seen so much, I'm better than you, but I just don't feel like that.
100%.
I feel like if you do some of these plants, it just makes you feel dumb for acting superior to anybody else. You just feel dumb for acting like that. And anyone who does this medicine and gets slapped around, even if it's just your own mind slapping you around, it's so humbling. You're just like, there's no way I can be an asshole. It's this. This was too eye opening from my perspective, and
Hmm.
it definitely changes your personality. There's like specific experiences I've had with DMT and ayahuasca,
Hmm.
where I would come back the day after and I could tangibly feel my personality had changed. It's like walking into a room and you saw somebody moved your shit. I mean, so think about that again. It's like walking into your room and seeing, oh, they moved the
Yeah.
bed, but they
Yeah.
moved the bed, but it's actually a better setup. You're like, oh, you know what? It should be over
Hmm.
there. It's better. It's better over there. And even my wife has said when I would do some of these ceremonies, I would come back, she'd be like, "You're different now," but like
Mm.
good different though. Like
Hmm.
just different. So it's hard to explain, but you become more
Yeah.
open, more lighthearted, more kind. Usually, those type of
Right.
things.
Right. And I think for people that need it for some form of or are being more open to needing it for some form of a clinical reason, or there's some deep work that needs to be done, I think that it's one of the most powerful things that there is. So I'm glad to see these things happening, man.
Yeah, I mean, it won't do the work for you. Like it's like it can't do the push-ups for you because
Hmm.
it will show you how to make some changes. Then you got to go do it yourself, and it's not a fix all, but it's certainly like just one tool that you can use. And I would say that it's what I like about psychedelics for the most part is that it's kind of hard to abuse because
Yeah.
it's just a little bit too much to do too often.
Yeah.
You can't. I've done a lot over the past 5 years, but it's not something where you can really like. You have to be safe with it, but it's not something that I've
Hmm.
ever felt addicted to. Is what I'm saying.
Right. Oh, it's too intense.
Yeah, I
Um,
just
yeah.
you know, if someone says you want to do some DMT right now, I'm like, I don't know. I got
Yeah. I,
shit to do today.
I would say, at least for me, with the light experiences I've had, it's almost like the door has been there,
Yep.
and then all of a sudden the door becomes illuminated,
Yep. Hmm.
and the door doesn't open. You still have to walk up to the door and open it. it's really fucking scary
Yep.
to peer through that door and open it. And what I find happen for me is when that friction comes up, which for me, the reason I think I'm sensitive is because actually what's happening is a tremendous amount of fear arises. And when that fear sets in and that paranoia sets in, instead, when I actually face it and push through it, and I go, no, you know what, whatever, fuck it, I'm gonna look,
Yep.
I'm gonna open this door. Then all of a sudden, a question comes to me like, is art the antidote to death?
Mhm.
Is creation and flow a means toward a higher self?
Mhm.
And these profound thoughts, but otherwise I could just probably fold up like a little kid and get scared and be like, okay, that there's too much, and go back to, also I think what often happens is like going back to the status quo, which is not having that newfound awareness that you tend to come back with. So I love it, man, and I'm glad to see it like kind of opening up for people.
Have you read any Alan Watts?
Oh yeah, he's
Okay.
my hero.
He's a hero. He's definitely a hero. He has
Yeah.
some good. He has some good books on like psychedelic consciousness, and that I've read a few times. And yeah, he's one of my favorites.
I haven't read much from Mr. Watts on psychedelics. I've read the books and I've gone down the YouTube rabbit hole
Oh,
for
the YouTube
hours
rabbit
and
hole.
hours and hours and hours and hours, and just the lectures are on in the background, and it's
So
incredible.
good. It's
Something
so
so
good.
soothing about his voice,
Yeah, you can just tune in at any random moment. He'll say something interesting, and you go right back to it.
Right,
You
right.
know, he just
Yeah.
keeps
No, I need
going.
to read that. I need to read that. So man, like now that you've kind of gone through this 6 months lately and you feel like you're on this upswing, is the way you're measuring how you feel in the morning or what makes you successful now different? Like, how are you measuring that right now?
How am I measuring it? Well, I mean, obviously there's the aura ring. We all have the aura ring.
Yeah, I got mine
Now
on.
this aura ring, I don't let it boss me around. That's the thing. If I wake up and I feel great, but it says I didn't sleep that well, I say, fuck you, aura ring. I know, So I
Yeah,
take the
because it can
information with
make
a
you
grain of
feel like
salt.
shit.
Yeah, I take it with a grain of salt, and I don't think it's 100% accurate. I think it's an interesting tool. So it is
Mm.
very beautifully done. But I don't take, because sometimes I see inaccuracies in it. But that being said, can you relate to that?
I agree with that.
You
Oh,
know,
100%.
it's
I
like
feel
it'll
like I
say,
got a tremendous great night of sleep and I wake up with a 79 or a
yeah, it's
75,
like, nah,
and yeah,
nah.
I just throw it away.
It's gamification. But when you wake up and it says 95, you're like, yeah, we're about to have a good day.
I'm trying to get into that 90s range though.
It's
I
hard.
can't even.
They
Yeah,
do
I
not
know.
let you get. They cap me at like 89. They do not want me getting into the 90s. So that's I'm gonna be in there 7:15 tonight. Fuck you,
I
Aura.
know. I know.
Uh, but and then it says no, you overslept.
No.
Um, I mean that's objective measurements are one thing. I think I
Like, do you look for a certain amount of? Are you like, when I have this much disposable income, when I
oh
like when you're talking about tangible things, what do you look for to be like, yeah, I'm doing good. I'm comfortable right now.
for
I'm
me
feeling good. I'm successful.
okay, so that's a good question. For me, I think really it's about momentum. I hate stagnation. I love
Mm,
momentum. And right now, I have a brand that we're building that's such a big vision.
mm,
It's starting with one product, but it's such a big vision. And what we're working on is very unique. We're the exact right people to do it. We're putting it out there. We haven't even been working on it that long, and it's already returning a lot of success. And when you work on
mm,
something, it feels so good to have that effort return back to you. We've
mm,
all worked on creative projects where we put a lot of energy in and it doesn't return back, and it feels like such an energy waste. And I've had a few of those in a row where it's like I
mm,
put in all this energy and I don't feel like I got what I wanted out of it. But not only am I getting what I put into, but I'm getting more than I put into, this business. I feel like it's really returning. And I can see how some of the experiences I had over the past 2 years where I was feeling kind of like just in a slump, how those
mm,
experiences directly are helping me right now because of something I learned, a connection I made, or,
Wild, isn't it?
so I can't really even
So
be
hard to
mad at
see
that.
that. Yeah.
You can't see it. So the momentum is the thing that makes me feel successful. The material thing, in terms of like financial stuff. I mean, I'm just gonna,
Hmm.
I'm only 32, so I'm gonna be making money for a long time. But it's more
Hmm.
just like, do I feel like we're making progress? Also, I feel like my team is really, it's the perfect team, which
Hmm.
is like, it's gold.
That's
We've
very hard to build.
gold.
Hmm.
We have the perfect team of founders with just the right skill sets. So it's very rare. And I was, even last night before I went to bed, I was like meditating. I was like sage in my room, like in Venice. I
Yeah.
had my salt lamp on, and I was in the yoga mat.
Oh
I was
man.
sitting in the yoga mat, and I was just laying down. I was, sitting down. I was thinking,
Mhm.
yeah, like this is the things that you pray for, where you're like, oh, I wish there was, I wish that this, this thing would be just laid out for me. That's what this is. I feel
Mhm.
like all the pieces have been. It's like uh, they dumped all the pieces out, and they gave the instruction manual and said it's all there. And the instruction manual is very clear. I know exactly what to do. I got the message. I got the download. I know
What do you
exactly what to
think?
do.
What do you think happens? Why is that happening? Is it because your experience has accumulated to the point where you're ready? Is it because the energy of the world is just perfectly set up? Is it coincidence and luck? Is it serendipity? Is it your destiny? I mean, what is that all of a sudden something creates massive momentum that seems beyond yourself?
So to clarify what we're talking about,
Yeah,
I'm
let's
working
be
on
tangible.
yeah, I'm working on a new product. This product is called Strength of Seduction. Okay.
Mm,
This is a fitness program for couples. Okay. You
mhm.
burn calories, you build intimacy at the same time. It's a couples workout program. Now, this is a concept that I came up with a business partner of mine, Micah, 8 years ago. We developed this idea. Then I moved to California. I'm like, hey, shelve that. I have other stuff to work on. Um, Micah shot some trailers for this and put them out himself. Those trailers independently blew up and got 30, 40 million views. He started
Wow.
selling them. Yeah, he started selling them selling these DVDs out of the back of his trunk. He made maybe $100,000, $200,000, but he was just a one-man show printing DVDs in his house. Meanwhile, I'm over in Los Angeles writing a book, and like, not dissing him or anything. He was just, we
Mhm.
just we're on different paths for the moment. Last year, as I'm going through my slump, we reconnect. He was getting an award for best trainer. He owns a gym out in Tampa. I reconnected with him, and I was asking him about what had ever happened with SOS, and we were talking about it. And I looked at this product again. I said, you know, it's like if you read a really great book, when you have more experience, you get more from the message. I looked at this
Yes.
product again. I said, oh, this is a banger. I mean, like, if Dr. Dre hears a beat, he knows whether it's going to hit or not. And 8 years ago, I didn't have
Yeah.
the experience, the connections, the understanding, the reference points, the money,
Mhm.
the time, the resources to really launch a thing. And I look back at this now. I said, this is sex and fitness mixed together.
I'm sold.
I'm sold.
I'm sold.
We have the
It's
product.
genius, dude.
It's
It's
genius.
fucking brilliant.
And what we did was we wrapped it in the packaging of the Black community. And this could be
Mhm.
for anybody, but we are who we are. So it makes
Yeah.
sense to position it to the Black community. And no one's doing that. And so what we're doing is we're building the Black Beachbody. And that's the bigger vision. The company,
Black Beach Body. I
the
love it.
company is called Nile. That's the bigger overarching company called Nile. And
Okay.
SOS, Strength of Seduction, is our first product. So we're putting that out. It's already out. It started to sell very quickly now. Only in like probably we're as you're hearing this, we're about in the fourth or fifth month of really pushing it, but probably
Yeah.
fourth month of putting money behind it. That's starting to
And,
pick up
and
really
and
well.
just so everybody knows, it's like you're sharing your whole process right now. I've
Yeah.
been noticing you're
Yep.
sharing from ground zero, like how to take an idea and build an e-commerce business in today's market, in this
Yep.
economy, which is unbelievable, man. I love that you're like, just open the curtain, check it
Yep.
out, guys. This is what I'm doing.
If you go to the 100kexperiment.com, that's where I'm tracking this stuff. And you
Hmm.
guys can follow me along there. And so this idea what is an old idea. It's an old idea. It's not new. What's new is me. So it's my preparation. It's the time of where we are in the world. COVID couldn't come at a better time for this particular business idea. It's an at-home workout business idea. Can't make this shit up. But I also feel like, I've been feeling like for years that I have been eating other people's shit. Even though like I have had my own wins, I felt like I have a little bit of a chip on my shoulder, because I feel like certain people in the industry have not respected me, and I feel taken for granted sometimes. I also feel like I'm one of the most creative motherfuckers out there. So I feel like
I just want to make it clear, I don't want to compete against you. You would bulldoze people, man. I'm on your team.
Yeah,
I'm on DP's team.
I got love for everybody.
I would watch out for you, man. You are
there have been some times.
trucking.
Yeah, there have been some times where I felt genuinely disrespected by people. I feel like they're sleeping on me. I mean, I put out a book. I put that Crush. I put out mixtapes. I've done all this different shit. I've spoken all over the world in creative live.
Yeah,
you can't sleep on me, And so, but anyway, so I felt like that energy combined with the timing and the product itself is good. People want the product, and I know how to sell now, man. So all this stuff is combined, and it's taken 10 years. So if you're watching,
such a beautiful answer.
That's the
beautiful answer, man.
10 years,
Yeah, because as you said, it's like that's exactly what I was wondering. And it is fascinating how timing is so critical to everything. And in that moment, sometimes when we want something to work, it's the most frustrating idea when we want it now and it won't work. But in hindsight, we end up seeing why. And we have this like guttural laugh to ourselves where it's like, aha, of course I couldn't have done it then. Yeah. That is so difficult to understand and see in the moment, man. So difficult. And I've gone through that countless times where I'm like, yep, the book wasn't going to work then because I didn't know this and I didn't know that person and I didn't have this skill. And it's just, it's hard though, man. It's hard to remind yourself of that. And just, it's a surrendering process, isn't it?
Wisdom is the lesson you need right after you need it.
Yeah.
It's like all the stuff seems pretty obvious after you've gotten the slap.
So what do you do? It's like you, at least for me, I think of it as a process of like letting go to my attachment for how things should be.
Well, have you read The Surrender Experiment?
I've read, I've read that and The Untethered Soul.
Yeah, they're both pretty good.
Yeah.
Michael, what's his name?
Singer.
Michael Singer, Mickey Singer. Very good books. His book, The Surrender Experiment, is the retelling of his story, where he goes through this entire hero's journey of evolving in life and business. And his whole mantra is, let's just see where this takes me. Let's just see where this takes me. And that's the takeaway of like, you can have your expectations and you can have an intention, but there's a difference between having an intention and an attachment to a result. The intention is you're putting direction and energy behind something, and you know that you can't force a result. The attachment is, if I don't get this result, then I'll feel like this, or then this bad thing will happen. And that's where it gets toxic. And entrepreneurs have a hard time differentiating between having just an intention and being too attached. And even the best people in the business have had to drop their attachment. Steve Jobs had to kill ideas, Walt Disney and Kanye,
Right.
So,
right, man.
You got to be flexible while having a clear intention.
Yeah. And he even talks about like, there's the good moments where things just seem to unfold miraculously for him. He's going about the process of building a business. He's not a businessman. He's a hippie who doesn't wear a shirt or shoes, right? Yeah. He shows up to meetings almost shirtless or something close to that. He picks up development, computer, like programming randomly by walking into a Radio Shack. And all it is him just kind of bumbling around, following the flow of life, saying yes. And what I love, though, one of the biggest things I get out of it is he takes what is in front of him and gives it 100 fucking %. He talked so many times in the book about the perseverance and energy that it took to accomplish the task in front of him without complaint, whether it was, oh my God, I'm building a huge company that, with hundreds of people, or now I'm in a massive lawsuit
The
with the
FBI.
federal government.
Crazy.
It's like, how do you let go in that moment? And I think the balance of that I really appreciated, because it's like you still maintain these goals and some of these desires, but you allow them to happen as they will. It's just so much easier said than done. But I agree, it was a profound book. I've given the Untethered Soul to so many people. That book, I read it about a year ago at this point, maybe.
Very good one.
And it was very transformational for me. Very transformational.
The Untethered Soul is like the instruction manual version of Surrender Experiment.
Kind of works for me better, I guess. I don't know. There's like, I would put it that way too. One is the manual and the other is the story. It's more of a narrative. So
I actually listen to both of those on audiobook as well. I feel like they do well on audio for me.
Yeah. So tell me about this ranch, man.
The ranch?
Oh, yeah. Well, what is this goal you're building toward? Because it's come up before.
I think the ranch is probably makes more sense now than ever with everything that's going on in the U.S. And but this has been a vision of mine for a while, where I really want to have something that's self-sustaining, where we can have one place to spread out. After being in LA for the past 7 or 8 years, it's just like, man, there's like so little space, and what we do have is so expensive. And it's just not really the way that I want to live long term. And so that's the first thing, having space to spread out. Also, I feel like like we've lost a lot of sense of community with families, where people don't really want to live with their families as much as they used to. And when people move to the suburbs, they spread out, families spread apart. And I feel like there's power in the family unit. Even if you look at like the Latin community or the Asian community, like they realize that there's power in the family unit. And I think that in general American culture, we've kind of lost that, and especially in the Black
100%.
culture, I think that we've lost that a little bit. And so, when you concentrate people, you concentrate resources. And even if you have one person who's primarily like funding the operation, the resource of time and money and people, and you just create a dynamic unit. And it's also making sure you're looking out for people too, so that because everyone knows you have people in your family who need more help or whatever, and it's good to have a place, like a compound where people can go. So for that, you need you're going to need several acres. Where's that going to happen? It's not going to happen in California. Too expensive, property taxes too crazy, and also nuts. Not the best land probably, for a lot of reasons, especially if you want to grow stuff. And always on fire, so so we're looking at ranches and other spots. You can get like 50 acres in Texas. If you want to go to Texas, you get like 50 acres for, I don't know, $250,000,
Wow.
And you got to build on it, but I mean, it's your land,
And that's a very American thing, by the way. Most of the world, I believe it's actually not legal to. You can't just own land. My Swedish friends were explaining this to me one time, how bizarre they found this concept of Americans owning their land. They're like, the land doesn't belong to anybody. It belongs to the public. So this idea that we have in the US, where we have the land, then we have the fence, then we have the shotgun, it's like, stay the fuck out of my ranch, is a very American thing, but it's something actually I really like it. It's I like it too. It's like, it's private. It's mine. I own it. It's generational. You're going to pass this down. I mean, it's a beautiful thing.
And you can do it for a lot cheaper than people. You don't need to be that wealthy to do it. It takes time and care to put it together, but it's not that. I mean, a basic, and right now we're going through a crash, but a basic bitch house in West LA, basic, $3 million. And I don't even like the $3 million houses. I like the $5 million houses.
That's insane. That makes me angry. That's insane. I mean, it's almost as bad in San Diego. It's almost as bad. So
I'm going to pay $25,000 a month for a mortgage for 30 years. Come on, man, get out of here.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. And have no space.
How do you balance the part about wanting to be around people still, though? Or is that even a factor for you? Because so you're talking about bringing the community together, bringing family together. So what places do you have in mind? Is there family there? Are there people there that you know? Because I could do the same, I feel like, but I really get stuck when I'm not around my friend group and community, and I'm like, I feel like I would kind of go crazy. So
I
how are you
thought
going to tackle that?
I have a friend who's a developer, uh, older guy, good dude, and he said the most important thing to do if you're going to build a ranch is get it in an area that's close enough to the city where it's near a major airport.
Hmm.
So like he's like somewhere like Georgia where you can get close to Hartsfield Jackson without being in the city, or even if it's like 45 minutes away. He's like within 45 minutes to an hour away. You can get into the country 50 minutes outside the city. Try to find perimeter to airport, and hopefully it's a major airport because then you can get to wherever you want in one flight, a direct flight, rather than multiple stops. So he's like,
Mm,
that way you have access, but also seclusion.
really?
Seems like a good idea.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
And there's a lot of great country outside of some major airports. Like, yeah, if
there's tons.
outside of Atlanta,
Oh
outside
yeah,
of so many major hubs. Yeah.
even in Texas, you drive, an hour west in Texas, you're in the
Right.
country.
Right.
You can get pretty good access anywhere. Even in LA, you can get somewhere pretty far if you drive an hour away. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I think that's what I would do. And that I also think having a major airport near you is good. That way you don't need to, like for instance, let's say you're flying out of Montana. Montana's not going to have a lot of direct flights to New York. You might need to connect in another
Mhm.
major airport first before you can get out of Bozeman. You know,
Right. Right.
so it's like,
I love that area of the country, Montana, Wyoming. I go
oh yeah,
fly fishing there. I
yeah,
shot
oh yeah.
like I want to go bow hunting there. Like it's just a more peaceful life. I have a mentor in Wyoming that I really look up to that explained the concept of nature deficit disorder to me. That's actually like insanely prominent in kids now, where they
Nature
just
disorder.
nature deficit disorder. You're going to love reading about it. And I mean, it's unbelievable that this is even happening, that it's even a thing,
What what
because
is what is this?
oh, it's just the screens, man. It's the screens, the addiction to the screens, the lack of socialization, the lack of sunlight, the lack of nature and play. They've
Yeah,
forgotten how to play. They've forgotten how to get in trouble or even just get outside and throw rocks. And so
oh
this
my
is
God.
causing learning issues. This is causing social anxiety issues. This is causing all sorts of mental health issues. And all they need to do is go out and play. So what he does is, I can't remember. Oh, yeah, it's the Boys and Girls Club. He works for the Boys and Girls Club. He takes these groups of kids, usually around middle school age, out on these hikes. They go camping, they go fishing, and he absolutely loves this. And he's changing these kids' lives through the simple act of getting outside and going on a walk. Unbelievable.
Man, it's like millennials were the last generation to have the analog life before everything went completely digital.
So
Last
we
childhood
won't
generation.
completely lose ourselves.
No,
We
we're
have a
gonna stay.
chance.
Yeah, we're gonna stay. We're still the last generation of old school when it comes to
Yeah.
technology. We still using floppy disks and all that shit. Like
We played
like
Oregon Trail, man. You
dude,
can't
I
mess
mean,
with those.
even up until high school, I was still using floppy disks. So that tells you, it's like, but yeah, it's a different world now, and kids are born with I mean, they're born with a smartphone.
Yeah, 100%, man. So I
I
have
feel
to ask you about the world we're in now, dude, because you always have such good like perspective on these things. What
what do you want
I
me to
mean,
say? I
I
don't
don't
know.
even know where to go with it. I think the thing I'll ask you is like, what do you hope happens as we begin to lift
I hope.
what do you hope happens? And then perhaps maybe what's the more probabilistic scenario? Because I think as an optimist and as a leader, our hopes are important and your hopes are important, because a lot of what you say will create the event itself. And so I do think it's really important for people like us, especially those that are actually in the community of the leadership around these things, to be spreading an optimistic viewpoint of what comes after all of this. But then there obviously is all this, the probabilistic scenario of what actually is going to happen. And is there even a new norm? Because I've in the last 3 days, by the way, I haven't even watched it yet. People keep sending me this video called Plandemic. I already fucking know I don't want to assume I know, but I understand that it's basically a conspiracy theory video of how we're being duped, how this is all happening to us, giving way too much credit to human beings to be able to pull off some shit like this, to the point where I'm seeing, by the way, I'm going now, but let me just go over. I'm literally seeing people on social media and on Twitter in particular. I learned I need to stay the fuck off of Twitter. Twitter is a scary place. I am seeing people disrespectfully asking the question of, do you know anyone who has COVID-19? If so, please state, and have you lost anyone? I'm seeing people posting pictures of their mother or father that they've lost, and the person who believes in the conspiracy theory is still saying, but did they really die from COVID-19?
Oh boy.
That level of disrespect and belief that is
Oh
happening
boy.
at the same time. So I'm going to throw all that at you and like
I mean, okay. First of all, I've been watching some of the conspiracy stuff too,
I need to
and
dig in and
one
see.
one of the one of my friends, John Romanello, I think put it perfectly. He said something to the effect of, the fact that anybody would believe that a government that could fuck this up this badly would also be able to maintain a conspiracy is out of their mind. Uh, unless they're so smart that they could make it look like they mishandled this to get over on us,
Mm,
to then dupe us into what? I don't know.
right.
So yeah, I mean, the conspiracy stuff. I don't know. I think that, so. I think that the COVID thing is, I don't know if the origin was purely natural or if there was some sort of laboratory testing that was being done. I mean, we do know that the CDC actively cultures diseases to test on, and it's a very secure process. It's like having CDC clearance is one of the highest levels of clearance because it's so dangerous.
Mm,
And we do know that other labs test diseases all the time. It wouldn't be out of hand for something like this to happen, and it wouldn't be also be out of hand for China to cover that the fuck up. You know,
mhm,
so who knows how they're saying this started in the Wuhan market? Who knows? It doesn't really matter at this point how it was started, so much that it's happening. And I think what's happening is that a lot of individual organizations and government as a whole just taking advantage of what's happening and being able to make power grabs during a time of chaos. Um,
mm,
that's my assessment on what's happening with the power base. I think that both the both the cases for staying in on quarantine and the cases for ending quarantine and getting back to work are both honestly good cases. Like
I
it
I agree.
they're and you got to have empathy for the other side. If you are strongly on one side, you got to have empathy for the other side. Their case is just as good. Honestly,
Yeah.
it's just as good. I think it's a complete draw. So I don't feel that opinionated about what happens, in the sense of, for me personally, I'm okay if I'm at home. I know it's not the same for everybody. And for you, I want you to be able to leave. But for me, I don't care if I stay here, and I will continue to quarantine as I see fit. Um, you know, and in terms of what's going to happen, with the world, I think that, like, or business world, this is a great opportunity. This is a great opportunity, business world. Like, if it crushed some old things, new things are building. And there's so much new stuff that's happening because of this. I mean, like,
Mm,
whole industries are being formed because of this. And there's also going to be a lot of market adjustment, which is going to allow you to get in for cheap on things that you can buy for cash. So there's going to be some advantages there,
mhm,
and it'll teach you to adapt. And usually what we see is that there's a theory, I believe it's called like the fourth parallel, or the fourth pivot, the fourth paradigm. But
mm,
the idea is that society goes through these cycles where there are periods of boom and bust. And after a period of a massive deflation, obviously there will be a period of rapid acceleration as new things grow, old
mhm,
things die off. So I think overall there will be a net positive. How long it will hurt for, don't know. Don't know.
mm.
Um, Now I'm just speaking off the top of the hip. One of the things that I do think there's going to be an interesting play on is the PPP loans. So we know about these.
Mm,
These are the triple
yeah.
P, payroll protection
Oh
loans.
yeah, man. I've been obsessed. Just got ours.
Those, you just got yours? Okay.
Yeah.
Those are going to play a number on us, I think. I think that
Mm,
if the American businesses don't need to pay them back,
Mm-hmm.
that money's still going to have to come from somewhere,
Mm.
and it's going to create consequences down the line. There's no way that we can give out all that money. So like, I want my friends and my partners and my clients especially to have it, because then they can keep paying me. So I'm happy to have them, have everyone have money, but there's no way to do that without it also having a macro effect.
Mm-hmm.
You're giving out a lot of money, and a lot of it's probably being misused as well. And so that's something I'm watching very closely. I think that's going to have some repercussions over the next 1 to 5 years, which we have yet to see.
Well said, man. As always. As
Yeah.
always.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Don't you
think,
think?
well, I do. I do. And the
Can we
Fed
give
is
out all that
saying,
money? We can't give
well,
out
they're
all that
saying, don't worry, we've got you. Do not worry at all. There is essentially an unlimited amount of money that we can inject into the
Oh, now
economy.
there is.
The repercussions of that, I don't think anyone fully understands. Massive deflation, obviously, that it is likely. And so the way I try to approach this is, I'm not an economist. I'm thinking first and foremost about myself, my loved ones, the people closest to me. I'm getting very serious about my investment strategy, very serious about the assets that I could end up acquiring during this downturn. Everything from an automation of my portfolio to a new degree, putting even more into some of these index funds and bonds, a little bit of like shift in my allocation, and then on the lookout for actually some properties like digital assets. I'm looking at websites right now. I'm looking for this. The way I would put this in, again, I understand that I am in an extremely privileged position to say everything that I'm saying right now, because I know someone who's listening is like, fuck you, bro. Like, I'm jobless, I'm on unemployment, I can't even get unemployment, my wife this, my son that. So I completely understand that. And I will say that's part of what comes with being an entrepreneur. This is bred into me to find the opportunities. Just like you said, you're like, there's a lot of opportunities, but I have complete empathy for the people that are like, what opportunity, man? Like, I do not see an opportunity here. I see chaos, I see turmoil, I see people dying. So I totally get that, but I will still share, because I think that this could really spark something in someone to think differently in their approach to what they're doing, especially if they do have any form of secure income. If you have any amount of savings right now, especially because you're not out drinking, you're not out at restaurants, you should have a good chunk of change every single month that you're setting aside, in addition to hopefully maximizing your savings or having had some sort of emergency savings. I think that there are going to be some opportunities. So for me, I'm looking at companies that are distressed for reasons outside of this so-called pandemic, meaning they're recession-proof businesses that are distressed for some sort of existential circumstance where they're still healthy, but it's like they need the money because they need to stay home and take care of their kid. They need the money because they got an argument with their business partner, not because the business is failing.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Great time, great opportunity. The market is pushing a lot of these businesses down.
I mean, people just want to sell sometimes for cash. They just want cash.
That's right.
You know,
and maybe they want the cash because they would rather give up that business and go and do exactly what I'm talking about, because they see a better opportunity to make
right.
10, 20x, you know?
Right.
So,
exactly. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities, man. I think it really comes down to, like, I think if you're just starting, then this is a good time to focus. You know, I think that it can be overwhelming with the amount of opportunities that do come. It's like, for instance, for me, like a couple of weeks ago, I saw oil was at an all-time low, and I'm like, man, if I knew really how to invest in oil, I would do something right now. But I don't have the experience nor the time to scale the learning curve. And I'm already doing other shit. Like, I just don't have time to learn about oil right now. But there was a time when I felt like I had to take advantage of every single opportunity because I could. And now I'm just like, all right, I can do a couple of things really well. Let me automate a few more of my investments. Let me put more money into ads because I know that this industry is going to help. Like, it's like more energy into fewer outputs for me now, even in a time of like potentially a lot of opportunities. You know,
dude, well said. You make one thing work, and the output of that, the performance of that, eradicates all the rest of those things. So
compound is real across many different areas of life.
Well said.
You know?
Well said.
No.
Well, man, I'm going to let you go build the black Beachbody, and I wholeheartedly believe that that's exactly what you're doing.
You know
I'm proud of you, man, as a friend and everything that you've done. I am one of those people that's been watching you for years and just being like, this guy is wise, sharp as fuck, getting after it, motivated. He can kill people through his jujitsu practice. I mean, you are a well-rounded individual. So there it is, my conversation with Daniel DiPiazza. I hope you enjoyed. As you can see, Daniel is an incredible person, so talented, so sharp, so wise, beyond his years. And I'm so grateful to get to connect with people like that. So I would love to hear your thoughts, especially in these early stages on the show. You know, what did you think of the interview? What did you like? What do you want to see more of? Any and all feedback. You can text my cell directly at 619-825-2595. And that literally goes directly to me. And we can get into a little conversation. Also, a quick give and a quick ask. So for the give, many people have been asking me, how did you pull off this podcast? This has been like something you wanted to do for 8 years. We know how important it is to you. What did you do to get it done? So like I've mentioned in the past as well, I had to kind of basically pull up my sleeves and get this done myself. But I could not get the production work done without Resonate recordings. I am insane when it comes to research and finding the most, I would say it's like the intersection of professionalism and the best work possible for the least expensive dollar amount, the most valuable resource. That's always the way I try to find my favorite resources, because I know people out there, like, they don't want to spend a fortune on this kind of stuff. And so whenever I go digging for who am I going to use, what are my favorite resources, that's the sweet spot I try to find, is what is the highest quality thing for the least amount of money. And Resonate Recordings accomplishes that. And they're so professional. And across everybody I spoke to, I think they're the standout. They literally handle everything from marketing to the production of the episode, all that stuff. So I have a free $59 credit to give you, which basically gives you one free episode recorded. To get that, just text hashtag Resonate to me at the same number, 619-825-2595. Just text hashtag Resonate, and I'll kick back a link to you with that free $59 credit. And one quick favor to ask, if you're enjoying this show, please do me a favor. Open that Apple Podcast app, go to Find Your Flow, and leave me a review. I would love to hear your thoughts. I love reading the reviews, and this is the #1 way in which to really spread the word on the show. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next time. Take care. Much love. Peace.